We're back live with Karen Spain Designs. And since I left you, I had my breakfast. I got dressed. I'm not in my PJs anymore. And I have an apology to make since I saw you last. I understand that I mispronounced Anthony's last name, which I guess is about unforgivable. But it is not Jim Ignani, it's Jim Ignani. Jim Ignani. I think, Anthony, I'm just going to call you Anthony G, if that's okay. So, apology made. And also, we're going to start with doing the Black Queen's checks. Or the Queen squares. What did I decide to call them? I can't remember. Okay, I'm going to use Martha Stewart's Beetle Black for my squares. Got to pour the paint out. I've got to move the camera. So, little pause. Here we go, painting the squares with the black. I always start at the top and work down. And there's a lot of odd shaped squares on this guitar. So I'm only going to do the ones that fit my brush right now. The big ones that sometimes I get out of line, as you can see, but it doesn't matter because it just doesn't. When I get finished, it's just the way my pieces work. I'm coming down these squares are the ones that I can do with this brush. I'll have to get a much smaller brush with angles and all of that when I go fixing all those little places that aren't big. I'm sure you're wondering about my fabulous hair and makeup and clothes. I don't have a wardrobe person. I don't have a makeup person. Only when I get my hair cut do I have a hair person. So it's all me, folks. And that's just the way it is. When I moved to New York City, my daughter said, "Mom, you gotta go." This is Cinnamon. My daughter I still haven't talked to you about, but I will. Cinnamon said, "Mom, you got to go do something about that makeup." I was from the South. I'd moved up there in the early 90s, and I was very pastel. Everything was pastel. My clothes were pastel. My house was pastel. My makeup was pastel. So I had to get into the New York way of doing things. So she took me to Bobbi Brown. That's where it started. Bobbi Brown's a famous makeup artist in New York City. And that's where I started changing my colors to much more neutral. And I've honestly been doing the same way all these years. You know, when you find something that works. Plus, as you get older, you find out you can't do makeup the way you always did. So you have to figure out your age and do what's appropriate, right? But my colors have not changed in all these years. I've used Bobbi Brown, Laura Mercier, and now mostly I'm Trish McEvoy because I travel a lot with all my children living all over the place. And I need makeup that can pick up and go, and she has the most wonderful, wonderful makeup travel case that holds everything. And it's not very big. And I don't wear very much makeup, so that's what works for me. So you can see we're coming down with the squares where I marked my little X's so I don't mess up. And it's easy to mess up if you don't have it marked. Trust me, I've done that before too. Which if I did that on this project, I'd definitely pick up the Damn It doll. I love doing this. It's so relaxing for me, and I get a chance to be a little creative. And I have some people that like what I do. Like I said, I have a few clients that pay me to do this. One being Anthony G. And I'm grateful for the work. You know, I'm a senior. I've been a senior a long time. And I'm finally on a fixed income, which I haven't been on in many, many years. And it's not easy getting used to that. Now you see what I'm doing, and I believe that I will stop here, and let me just do two more little things and finish this up, and we'll come back and start on another part. These videos can get way too long, I'm seeing, and almost impossible for me to put them in one long stretch. So this project may also be in short segments. And if you're wanting to see the whole thing, you just gotta watch the whole thing, segment by segment. But you know, you can delete, you can stop, you can fast forward if you want. It's all at your fingertips with your phone or your computer. Now, we've gotten that far. And I think you can kind of get the idea where this is going. But I'm going to have to get a smaller brush to do all these little places that are, you probably can't even see how small they are. And I'll finish the bottom, and then we'll come back and we'll start the rim. I'll probably start with the silver, because I don't know, maybe I'll do the stripes first. There's method to my madness. And I'll explain as we go. That's it, folks, for now. Tune in later. We're back now, and you can see I have done all the black, the Queen's squares. And I'm going to start to go around the little stripes on the border, which I have gridded off. And you wonder why when I it's not so perfect in the lines when I paint, why I go to such extremes to mark it off. It's because I just want to have a good, like I said, a foundation that I can follow, and then if I go out on my lines a bit, it's okay, because that's the way I paint. But if I didn't do that, I can't imagine if I tried to do it freehand. It would not work. So that's why I put in all that work. I actually built my house I'm living in. I designed it on graph paper, and the architect drew up the drawings, and they built my house. And you have to have your basic foundation, and as you're building a house, you have the right, once in a while, to do a change order. And I had to do some change orders when I built my house. Cost you extra, trust me. They add those suckers up the best they can. But that's why I go to all the trouble to grid, because then at least I know I'm going to have some semblance of what I want at the end. And I'll go all the way around the guitar, painting these little stripes. And I think this guitar, Anthony G, I'm doing the border a little bigger than the first. I hope you don't mind when we get done. We'll see. And I still have another guitar to paint. And if you don't like this, I will do the other one different. But once I get done, as I said before, about halfway through a project, I want to throw it in the trash, because it just looks awful to me. But if I stick with it and get it all done, then it usually turns out pretty well. I'm doing these little stripes on the side, a ½ inch wide, to kind of go along with the squares. So I just keep going till I get around. And boys and girls and moms and dads, we still have the back of this guitar to grid and paint, and the back side is a whole different design that you'll see when we get there. I don't know how I came up with it, but I did, and it looks really great, as you will see eventually. Alright, as usual, this thing could go on for many hours if I were to drag it out, and I'm trying not to do that to you. So we will take a pause. You can see how I'm starting my little stripes, and I'll finish that, and then I'll come back. I have to wait for it to dry really well, and I'm going to come back and do my silver that's in between the squares and the stripes. So see you soon. Now we're ready to start the silver around the middle here in this design that we're doing, or that I'm doing. I just found the perfect size brush to do the silver with. Now that I've got this started, I'm going to do what I do, and that is back into what I just painted. Okay. I have to apologize to you, Anthony, because I had to change this edge design a bit. I didn't like what I did. Instead of having to take everything off and start over, I just used my creative license to make it a little different. The stripes are too big, too wide, and so I changed them with a little stripe in between. And I think once I get it all, when I get it all the way I like it, it'll be good. And I come from one square to the next to try to break my painting up into kind of little segments. It's not doing the way I want it to. Now, there we go. Alright. I have my ways. I'm sure there are more professional ways to do everything I do, but this is how I've decided to do it my way. And it honestly turns out pretty good. I have these little breaks at every inch, and actually an eighth. It's an inch and eighth or inch and 16 each square. I listened to one of my earlier segments, and I heard this rattling of paper, and I'm oblivious to those sounds until I hear them on my videos, and then it's too late to do anything about it until after it's happened. But it was the rattling of this parchment paper that I put underneath. When I've already painted the back side of this. I didn't want it to sit on my turntable because it's got old dry paint that could come off on the new paint. So I put parchment paper underneath, and it was sticking out, and it was making noise. And now it doesn't make noise anymore because I cut it off where it can't do that. So you can see how this is going. This is my silver border. And Anthony's going to add a chrome border on this side. So this in between is going to be bordered by silver. And on this silver, I'm going to add some really cute little dots to jazz it up a bit. I hear boats on the lake. I remember to turn off my AC this time, Kimmy. Now, I'm gonna stop as I do. I'm trying to make these a little shorter because I still have a whole back side of this thing to do. And I'll continue with the silver. Then I'll clean up all this gel that I can see outside of my squares. And with my Q-tip and some water, I'll get all that cleaned up. And then we're ready to start with the embellishing.